Hey guys, this is Isabel from Cognito Forums, and in this video, I'll show you how to assign a task to multiple people in your organization. This feature is especially helpful when you have multiple people who complete the same tasks and you want to ensure that workflows run smoothly, even if someone is busy or out of the office. And since Cognito Forums updates in real time, you don't have to worry about employees completing the same task more than once. There are several ways you could set up tasks for multiple people, but all of them involve using a person field. I'll cover the basics of using a person field to assign tasks, but if you want more information on the person field, you can also check out our person field video, which you can find in the description below in the links and resources section. For this demonstration, I'll use an expense report form. The workflow begins when an employee submits an expense. The report is sent to their manager for approval. Once approved, the task is assigned to a team of accountants. The first accountant to pick up the task would handle the reimbursement, marking the task as complete. At the top of this expense report, you'll see a name field, but it's better to use a person field. The person field can automatically collect the submitter's information and make it easier to assign workflow roles later on. If you haven't collected any entry data yet, you can simply delete the fields you don't need. However, if data has already been collected, you shouldn't delete fields, as this will remove the associated data. Instead, set the name field to show this field never and require this field never to preserve your data. Now I'll add a person field, label it, select the source form, and set it to default to the current user. In this scenario, the person in the public role, the employee, logs into a Cognito Forums account and their credentials are authenticated. So I'm going to make this person field read-only for all roles. The reason I'm setting it to read-only is that I want to ensure that I prevent user error and always collect accurate information about who's submitting the expense. But you won't want to do this if the person in the public role does not log into Cognito Forums. Since we need to ensure that our workflow is properly set up before we can assign any tasks, let's take a look at our workflow roles and assign them to the right people. For the employee role, we can easily assign tasks using the person field we just created. And for the manager role, we can also assign tasks since the manager's name is included on the source form. But for the accounts payable role, we don't have any existing options. We could fix that in a few different ways, but I'll show you the solution I think is the most elegant. Let's go over to our person field source form. Any information we add there can be referenced on other forms, not just this expense report form. In addition to the required information, such as the name and email, there's information on the employee's position, phone number, address, whether or not they're an active employee, whether or not they're a manager, who their manager is, and there's also an option to add a photo. To solve our issue on the expense report, I'll first add a yes/no field asking if the employee is eligible to submit expenses for reimbursement. Then I can use that field to conditionally show a person field referencing the accounts payable team. Once I save the yes/no field to the form, I can add the person field, which I'll label accounts payable. Then I'll choose checkboxes as the type. This is what allows us to assign tasks to more than one person. After I choose the layout I want and select the correct source form, I'll set the filter to include only active employees with the position of accounts payable specialist. Then I'll default to people whose active status is yes, whose position is accounts payable specialist, and if the person is eligible to submit expenses. Once I set those conditions, I'll also only show this field if the employee is eligible to submit expenses for reimbursement. Now I'll preview the form just to show you how it looks. You'll see the employee is eligible to submit expenses for reimbursement by default, and it lists the two accounts payable specialists on my team. But when I say the employee is not eligible to submit expenses, it hides that field. Since the source form now adequately addresses the workflow in our expense report, let's go back and finish assigning the roles. Now when we open the accounting role, we'll see the option we need. Once we finish setting up the workflow, we can move on to creating entry views for each role. For the sake of time, I've already created entry views for the employee and the manager, but let's do the last view for the accounts payable specialist together. This grid view I'll label pending reimbursement. I'll assign it to the accounting role and turn off allow new entries. When I turn on shared with me, we'll see entries will be automatically shared with name.accounts payable, which we assigned earlier. Lastly, I'll assign entries in this view as a task. Of course, I'll also need to filter for entries with an approved status and save the filter to this view. That's all you need to do to set up tasks for multiple people. But if you'd like more information on setting up tasks, you can check out our user guides at cognitoforms.com/support or reach out to us directly by submitting a support request.